Call this meeting to order. If you would, stand if able, please. I'd like to welcome a veteran who's going to lead us today in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sergeant First Class John T. Jeffrey. We're honored to have Sergeant Jeffrey here today with us. He started his military career with one war and ended it with another. John joined the Army in 1970 and served for a year in Vietnam. He was out of the service for 16 years before he rejoined the Pennsylvania Army National Guard in 1989. With Task Force Sabre in the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, he deployed to Ramadi, Iraq in 2005 and 2006. John worked full-time as a technician with the National Guard from 91 till 2010, and he held various positions in Scranton, Carbondale, and Taylor with the 1st Battalion of the 109th Infantry, and he was the 55th Brigade Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year in 1990. He retired as a Sergeant First Class in 2010 when he turned 60 years old. John continues to serve as the Public Affairs Officer for the 109th Infantry Regiment Association and is the Service Officer in American Legion Co-Conley Post 121. John's awards include the Vietnam Service Medal with 3 campaign stars, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, the Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm, the National Defense Service Award, 3rd Award, the Iraqi Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terror Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, 3rd Award, Army Achievement Medal, 2nd Award, and others. John, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
If you're wearing a hat, I'd ask you to please uncover. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. And Sergeant, if you would, join us up here, please. And if you would, we're going to take a quick picture with Sergeant in the event that he has to go anywhere else.
Where do you want me at?
Right over here. I'm on the outside, you guys are.
Thank you, sir. Reading and approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items.
Good morning. Michelle Tierney, Glenburn Township. I have a long list of questions on line item 26-103, adopting an enforcement policy. I'm hoping that it is an April Fool's joke. I'm going to put some light on the subject. I am going to ask Chairman Welby some questions, and I'd like them answered after I've had my minutes of speaking. I have been a public servant for 20 years who've adopted and had to put on policy for a long time. There are procedures and there are protocols. And one of the procedures is transparency and making sure that your constituents, the people that put you here, have an opportunity to hear you and your teammates negotiate and how you enact a policy. It is important for us to hear your reasons for doing this. It's important for you to hear from your public. So again, my issue with this is you're looking to adopt a policy today. I have not been able to be present, but I have been here through Zoom listening to your meetings. I have not seen reading number 1. I have not seen reading number 2, and nor have the people that put you here. So I ask you to please take this off the agenda today so you are in protocol with the duties that you uphold until the 3 of you work together. And unfortunately, the only information I have is what I read in the newspaper, and the last place I wanted to be here today was here. You work for us. We voted you here. The only power you should have is the trust and respect that we give you. So, I'm going to ask you again to please take this off the agenda today. And during your speeches, I want the 3 of you to tell us, what proposal are you looking to put in front of us for us to help you debate and use as a compass to be able to do an incredibly important job in setting a policy on the people of your county? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms.
Chairman
Tierney,
Welby, I'm waiting for your answers.
Ms. Tierney, just to clarify, this is a resolution today?
Okay.
There you are. It only requires 1 reading. An ordinance requires 2.
Okay, but this is, you're saying you're adopting it. In order to adopt anything,
It's a resolution, so it's not an ordinance. They only required to read ordinances twice.
okay, an adoption. Okay, so have we seen the first one? So you're looking to adopt something today. We haven't seen the first one yet.
This is a resolution.
Okay,
There's 1 reading for a resolution.
is there have we been able to read it?
It's been, well,
And
we're reading it today, and it was up, and we share all of the agenda items on our website, which was shared as of yesterday, 10 o'clock the day before. We share all the information. So this resolution has been up on the website, and it's been shared by media as well. And we will talk about this when it comes up on the agenda.
So
And-
you
and that's
posted
when we'll
this.
discuss it.
Okay, I'm sorry,
And
I'm
it
sorry for
can be,
interrupting.
any commissioner at that time can make a motion to table it. But we'll discuss that when it comes up on the agenda.
So you posted this proposal at yesterday afternoon?
Yesterday
Yeah,
morning.
yesterday morning?
It has to be posted 24 hours before the meeting.
Okay, so it was 24 it was yesterday before 10 o'clock? Yes. Is that respectful to the community? No. This is the most important policy. People have been here for months.
Yes, and we've been debating this for quite some time. It's been discussed that something like this does take time. And we do have a proposal that's on the agenda for today, and we'll either vote to table it, move to table it, or we're going to vote to approve or deny it. And we'll discuss that when it comes up on the agenda.
I would hope
you.
that the 3 of you would use the word transparency and discuss this and debate this in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Will Cohen, and I'm still a Scranton resident of 16 years, and I'm still a faculty member at the University of Scranton, just as I was the last time you saw me standing here at the podium a couple of weeks ago. I do want to say to start out today, and this is not an April Fool's joke, that when I think of you commissioners sitting there having to listen to me as I get up here and speak to you yet once more, particularly if you disagree with my perspective on immigration and immigrants and ICE, by this point I do feel kind of bad for you. It must be annoying to listen to me again. If I were in your shoes, I might be tired of me by now, and not just me, of course, but a number of us. But I can say for my own part that if you feel that way, I understand, because honestly, I get a little tired of myself sometimes. But I'll say why I keep coming back on Wednesday mornings and putting you through the aggravation. It's because more than I feel sorry for you, although I honestly do, and it isn't an easy job, I feel much more sorry for that 8-year-old, 9-year-old, or 10-year-old child who has to have his or her loving, hardworking, tax-paying, community-enriching parent ripped away for no other reason than that the parent could not yet become a citizen in spite of having lived here since before the child was born in many cases, and doing everything possible to move their legal process forward in a broken system. That parent has sought a better life the way many generations of Scranton immigrants have before. I'm a little worried that as it stands, more than a little worried, the Lackawanna County government policy put forward by Commissioner Welby amounts to a Protect Ourselves Act. The Protect Our Neighbors Act seeks to put the most vulnerable people first, but the county policy of Commissioner Welby doesn't actually mention those who are most vulnerable. It lacks certain things that need to be there in the resolution. It emphasizes the need for cooperation with a federal policy that's been morally condemned by very solid citizens, and I've been up here a number of times reciting statements from popes and other bishops, not because they're the only ones with moral standing, but they're a set of people among many who are really grounded morally, and they're people who say this is not morally acceptable, the current mass deportation policy. So we have to be careful not to pass something that is disregarding a national reality that many very grounded people are saying lacks moral right or good. I appreciate Commissioner Welby's desire to not be rashly saying more in a document like this than is necessary, but at the same time, there are certain things that do need to be there. I'm going to read a quote from a couple of, from one document in particular. But I just want to preface it by quoting from the policy of Commissioner Welby that was released yesterday. This policy is also made with the explicit understanding that effective law enforcement requires cooperation among agencies at all levels of government. That emphasis is very different from what I think needs to be there because it emphasizes only cooperation and disregards, again, that environment and the moral factors in that environment. So I'm going to read 3 brief quotes. Federal law explicitly provides that state and local governments are not compelled to cooperate with the federal government in matters of the removal of aliens not lawfully present in the United States. A second quote. The 10th Amendment prohibits the federal government from compelling state or local governments to enforce federal regulatory programs. A third quote. Lackawanna County is not legally obligated to honor ICE detainers. A fourth quote. Pennsylvania counties have authority to control access to their facilities, including allowing, disallowing ICE agents from entering non-public areas without proper authorization. You might be familiar with these quotations because they're from our own county solicitor, Paul Walker, in his February 11th memo. We need those perspectives, those elements in whatever is passed, whether it's called the Protect Our Neighbors Act or something else, because they do protect people who are badly in need of it, who are vulnerable, and we can't pretend that that's not happening or we'll be whistling in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sean Riley. I live in Thornhurst, and I'm a political organizer. And I've been watching every meeting since your reorganization meeting, and I felt it was important that I come here today. First and foremost, I would like to thank Commissioner Welby for, after over 2 months, putting something on the agenda. Although I have many issues with it, I'd also like to thank Commissioner Gahan, who I believe without his words and his effort, this would not be possible. For the last 2 months, the overwhelming majority of the public comment has been dedicated to calls for the commissioners to limit cooperation with ICE and support Commissioner Gahan's Protect Our Neighbors Act. This has made me feel pride for our county that we are going to lead by example, especially after the brutal ICE murders in Minnesota, and the alarming amount of 287G agreements all across northeastern Pennsylvania. However, today, I am disappointed and insulted that not only is that ordinance not on the agenda, but it's at least it's something version of the agenda. During the last commissioner meeting, Commissioner Welby very briefly informed us that he had put together his own version of an ordinance and hoped he would have it ready for today. No information was shared about what was on it during the meeting, unlike Commissioner Bill Gaughan, who took time to explain his ordinance 2 months ago. However, that changed yesterday when Commissioner Welby's ordinance was placed on the agenda under the label of enforcement policy. Perhaps by design, this title could not be more vague. Perhaps it should have been called the Stand Down and Keep Our Mouth Shut policy. I took time to read this policy, and I have a few questions, and I hope that I receive answers sometime during today's meeting. Number one, why is there a desire to not be transparent with the public and be secretive about issues we're all concerned about? Even the solicitor's memo, which, according to 2/3 of the commissioners, was not good enough to be released to the public, and thankfully to Commissioner Gaughan, we were able to read that. Number two, why is there no mention of a ban on 287G agreements? If there is a concern about lawsuits against the county, the ACLU has determined that these agreements only bring more lawsuits and more spending for the county, on top of increased racial discrimination, which should be reason enough. Number three, why does this policy accept an administrative warrant as being acceptable for cooperating with ICE? A judicial warrant should be required, as it would be under the law in most cases. And number four, why is this version different and softer than even the initial one that was shared with the commissioners 2 weeks ago? I saw in the media, Commissioner Gaughan has stated that there was a different version that was shared with the commissioners, and it is not this version that is on the agenda today. That version, the public has not been able to read or know what is in it, and I would love to know what is in that and why that version is not on the agenda today, as it is apparently was closer to Commissioner Gaughan's Protect Our Neighbors Act. I challenge the commissioners to follow Commissioner Welby's words from the reorganization meeting back in January. Please place partisan and petty issues at the door and do what is best for the people who live in this county. I also hope that Commissioner Welby and Commissioner Chermak spend more than the usual 30 seconds that they usually do to provide some explanation on this issue, as it is the number one reason why most people have been attending these meetings. This is a decent first draft, and it certainly should be a minimum, but it is not enough, and it will not stop the people from coming out and speaking out. So it's my hope that this is not a desire to shut the public up, but really as a starting place, and hopefully following today, if this is passed, if this is tabled, whatever version is passed, my hope is that this is just step one, and step two will include a lot of the provisions that are in Commissioner Gaughan's Protect Our Neighbors Act. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Balmer from Covington Township. I have a couple questions. I almost didn't come today because I had no idea that an enforcement policy was actually in lieu of, I guess, the Protect Our Neighbors Ordinance. Is this in place of the Protect Our Neighbors Ordinance?
This is a policy that's on the agenda for today.
Is this in addition to or in place of the Protect Our Neighbors Ordinance?
I guess you would consider in place of. It's a policy that we are looking to bring up for a vote. Whether or not it reaches that, we'll find out when it comes up on the agenda.
Okay. May I ask why the Protect Our Neighbors Ordinance that we have all been showing up week after week after week to speak on, why that was never put on the agenda?
The commissioners will address these issues when it comes up on the agenda.
I have some serious concerns regarding the proposal I was able to briefly read last night. The most obvious and glaring issue is regarding HIPAA. Your policy instructs employees to maintain confidentiality and comply with HIPAA, yet also states they may disclose immigration status to federal agents. Under HIPAA, even acknowledging that someone is a patient or a client is protected health information. There is no HIPAA exception that permits disclosure of immigration status or service utilization to immigration authorities. This contradiction exposes the county and its employees to significant legal liability. And from a personal standpoint, I could not sleep last night. I had a migraine. I almost had an anxiety attack because I had so much hope in this commission. This moment feels especially disheartening as you had the opportunity to say to the immigrant community, we see you, we care about you, and we will use the limited authority we have to safeguard your constitutional rights. And for reasons that remain unclear, you chose not to do that. I cannot tell you how deeply hurtful and disappointing this is to me and to my family. I am asking you to put aside your personal grievances and work together to amend the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance and place it on the agenda. Doing so would send a meaningful message to the people who are most vulnerable in our community, that their rights matter, that their leaders are willing to act with courage rather than convenience. And as Nadia Schulman writes, nice people made the best Nazis. They were nice people who refused to make waves. They were lovely, kind people who turned their heads as their neighbors were dragged away. Thank you very much.
Just to be clear about something real quick regarding this, under this policy, no county employee can speak. We changed the language in it from immigration agent to something wider. There's a possibility that sometime down the road, this president or any other president or any governor or any other law enforcement officer might, or agent, a leader of an agency, might dictate something else. This will now read that any immigration agent or federal, state, or local law enforcement agent can, this will be covered from them, and it bans any employee from speaking to any of them under that category without first speaking to their department head, but more importantly, to chief counsel. And they are to, if someone does come in and ask for information, they are to be asked for their identification, what agency they represent, and to be escorted to a private area until that information can be shared with someone in authority, that being our counsel. So just so you're clear on that our employees cannot speak to any of those agents until they speak with our counsel. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Ding ding. I'm Beth Perry. I'm from Clark Summit. And many people come and they speak about compassion for immigrants, the cruelty of ICE breaking up families, terrifying children, the violence of ICE, the damage to our neighborhoods and communities. But compassion does not resonate with or concern some people. So I would once again like to remind you that there is another concern to consider, and that is the potential cost to the county when voluntarily collaborating with ICE. Thus far, there have been more than 4,400 rulings finding that ICE has held individuals illegally, often without warrants or valid cause. The number of these lawsuits are surging, and counties that collaborate voluntarily with ICE are facing millions of dollars in liability for holding individuals on ICE detainers without a judicial warrant. Recent court rulings have reached well over $100 million in damages. The ACLU of Pennsylvania has contacted counties, I'm sure they contacted you, across Pennsylvania to remind councils that ICE has no authority to require counties to detain individuals or to disseminate information, and if they do, they are at significant risk of liability. In PA and across the USA, federal courts have held local law enforcement agencies liable, resulting in payment of substantial damages and attorney fees. A couple of examples are Suffolk County, New York, Los Angeles County, California, Maricopa County in Arizona, where the combined cost of litigation to these counties is $169 million due to their collaborating with ICE. In Pennsylvania, Lehigh County, Clearfield County, Clinton County, Pike and York counties have federal litigation suits filed against them. When localities choose to collaborate with ICE, they expose the county to the possibility of spending huge amounts of taxpayer dollars due to legal challenges. Remember, compliance with ICE is voluntary, and local governments that do not cooperate with ICE are usually not held liable. Immigration enforcement is the job of the federal government, and the county need not involve itself in any way whatsoever. I don't know how much money the Lackawanna County coffers hold, but I don't want my tax dollars to be spent on litigation that could have been avoided. My mother said, "There is a word that aptly describes when someone voluntarily collaborates, in this case with ICE, despite the risk of financial liability, and that word is stupid."
Good morning. Good morning, Kevin Gilbride, Scranton resident. I understand this protect thy neighbor, but the part I don't understand is why we're spending so much time on that part of the protect thy neighbor when, again, I have neighbors that are wondering what they're going to do with their taxes. We're spending all this money on this federal stuff that really, I didn't think we ever controlled the federal government. So when it comes down to Lackawanna County, what can we do to help our older people in the area? The younger people have no problem. They could go to work and make more money. Some of the people, I haven't heard one person say their taxes got lowered. I think she made a mistake, but she's right across the street from me. More power to her. But the older people in the area are still facing the 33%, then the reassessment, and now you got a phone call every day coming into your house that we want to buy your house. What do we do when all these older people have to sell their houses? Where do they go? I don't understand why we're spending all this time on something that we can't do anything about, and we're not spending the time on the people in Lackawanna County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael. My name is Michael Nicotera. I am a student at the University of Scranton. And I'll make this brief, but to echo the concerns put forward previously, I'm asking the commissioners to please put aside any petty or interpersonal differences between yourselves and to focus on the well-being of the people you're responsible for governing, regardless of their immigration status. You're responsible for them regardless of whether or not they voted for you or they can vote for you. I really thought that with the Protect Our Neighbors Act put forward by Commissioner Gahn, we had something special here and that could set a shining example for other municipalities in the region, especially as we've seen so many 287G agreements formalized over the past year or so. I think if this new watered-down resolution is passed, it will constitute a lack of respect and proper consideration for the many citizens who have come here and voiced their concerns in past months. This new resolution was mentioned vaguely last meeting, but only posted just before the legally required minimum period, and I think that reflects potentially an incentive on part of certain council members to give citizens and the press as little time as possible to disseminate information about this change. Commissioner Gahn gave plenty of additional warning, to my knowledge, or additional time for the public and the press to consider the text of the Protect Our Neighbors proposal. So I just want to ask, please respect the valid concerns of your constituents and reconsider this resolution. People's lives might really be at stake, and this is not the kind of thing that should be in any way affected by interpersonal differences between commissioners. this is really important, and I think this has a lot more weight than maybe some people are giving it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Terry Lynn Brechtel, and I'm here as both a Lackawanna County resident and a representative of United Neighborhood Centers of Northeastern Pennsylvania. We believe it is our responsibility to advocate for the immigrant and refugee neighbors we serve, and that is why we are urging you to adopt a policy that explicitly limits cooperation with federal immigration enforcement to only what is legally required. In our work, we see how fear and uncertainty shapes behaviors in ways that extend beyond accessing services. It affects whether someone reports a crime, whether they feel safe sending their children to school, whether they seek help in a crisis, and whether they engage in the community at all. Policies like this don't just guide internal processes, they send a message. This is an opportunity to make that message one of trust and inclusion. For that reason, we are asking you to develop a policy that more explicitly safeguards the rights of immigrant and refugee communities in Lackawanna County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brenda Starker, and I'm a resident of Lackawanna County and specifically West Scranton. I appreciate the county taking steps to create a clear, lawful framework for responding to enforcement inquiries. This matters for your staff, for the safety, and for public trust. However, after reviewing the policy, I have some questions and concerns. This policy applies to county employees, but not to independently operated systems such as the sheriff, the prison, or municipal governments and police departments. Without coordination across these systems, there is a real risk of inconsistent responses depending on where someone enters that system. I would like clarification on detention practices, given that most immigration matters are civil, not criminal. What is the county's role when individuals are placed in detention-like settings? Where are women, children, or families to be held if detained? My understanding is that the county jails do not typically house children or family units. If that would be occurring, I would ask the county to clearly identify what would take place and under what legal authority. As you consider jail-related funding, including programs using medications like Sublocade, which is also on the agenda today, I would like to better understand care delivery. How many individuals are receiving treatment in the prison? How is continuity of care ensured? And how is the county addressing risks associated with medication changes, specifically the substitution or elimination of prescribed medications due to availability or lack of availability, including critical medications such as seizure treatments, HIV meds, and behavioral health medications for conditions like psychosis and schizophrenia. And I would like to also understand how you will be addressing changes in withdrawal protocols, particularly given the prevalence of fentanyl and xylane in the current drug system. Most importantly, how can we assure safety for vulnerable populations when basic needs and consistent care may already be a challenge? If systems are strained, what is the plan to prevent future harm? What is the county's protocol if immigration enforcement appears at or near polling locations? And how will voters be protected from intimidation? Polling places must remain spaces of safety and access, and where people can participate fully without fear. Finally, I want to briefly address the economic impact. Research shows that increased enforcement reduces consumer spending. It decreases workforce participation and small business stability. In areas like South and West Scranton, immigrant communities are a vital part of the workforce. Small business bases, tax bases, all of that. When people are afraid to show up to spend money or access services, the entire local economy feels it. What is the county's plan to address that impact? And how will the public be able to see if those plans are working? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cyrus Olson. I'm a Scranton resident and have been a faculty member for 20 years at the University of Scranton. And I'll begin first in gratitude. I just want to say thank you for your work, as well as just look around everybody at who's here to say thanks for our neighbors and for showing up to talk to you about these matters. And I'll speak directly to the resolution that's going to be introduced later today by way of two stories. And the first would be that when I first walked the hills here with my sons, they heard that I was called doctor by students. And the eldest said, "You're a doctor, Dad? You help no one. You're useless." Right? So this is frequently the case with how academics are viewed. So take these words and these stories with a grain of salt here. But note that when I teach my students, we use metaphors and we teach them how to read metaphors. In the work that we're doing here, some people have brought them up. Are we going to be a city, a light on a hill, or are we going to be veiled in our valley? These are metaphors, right? They're literal for us in the valley here. And before us is set a decision that's really about the risk assessment that we've been discussing with each other, right? What's the risk that we're willing to take as we move forward to protect our neighbors or to be neighborly with gratitude towards one another? And I'll just secondly give you the second story and then finish, which is from the Council of Elrond in The Lord of the Rings, when Gandalf is set before him the decisions about what to do with the One Ring of Power, and he says nobody can despair ultimately because they don't know the end. Only those who know the end can despair with certainty. And since we don't know the end in our risk assessment, I just give us that note that maybe we need to continue to listen and hear and invite this conversation without despair, without knowing the end with certainty as we assess well the risks before us in making this kind of decision. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jenny Gonzalez, and I'm here as a resident of the City of Scranton. I'm here to comment on Commissioner Welby's new proposal. After reading the proposal on today's agenda, I was very frustrated to see the skeleton version of the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance. In my opinion, this proposal does not protect the immigrant and refugee populations in our county. In fact, it almost read as if it were only intended to protect county officials and not the county residents. In the new policy proposal, there is absolutely zero language about, one, limiting county employees from voluntarily asking individuals about their citizenship or immigration status, and two, limiting county officials from assisting with immigration enforcement. Which brings me to what this policy includes, which is language on federal statute Title 8 of the United States Code, Section 1373, which reads, "Notwithstanding any other provision of federal, state, or local law, a federal, state, or local government entity or official may not prohibit or in any way restrict any government entity or official from sending to or receiving from DHS information regarding the citizenship or immigration status, lawful or unlawful, of any individual." However, if you read Villanova University's Farm Workers Legal Aid Clinic's analysis of the Protect Our Neighbors Act, this specific federal statute does not mandate that local officials take specific actions or inquire about a person's immigration status. It also doesn't prevent localities from implementing don't ask policies within their agencies. Crucially, the statute only prohibits policies that restrict the sharing of existing information with ICE. Therefore, if a county chooses not to collect immigration or citizenship data in the first place, there is simply no information to share with DHS. So my question to Commissioner Welby is why you left out language that would specifically protect non-citizen immigrants by simply limiting county agencies from collecting information about people's immigration status and limiting counties from assisting with immigration enforcement. This language, which was included in the Protect Our Neighbors proposal, not only ensures families can access vital services they help fund through their tax base, but also prevents unnecessary ICE detentions and family separations that fracture our community. The third critical point Commissioner Welby's proposal deliberately leaves out is language on prohibiting county agencies from entering into 287G agreements with ICE. In the Protect Our Neighbors proposal, there was specific language that indicated that no agency in the county would enter into 287G agreements that would permit state or local government entities to enforce federal civil immigration laws. Without this specific language, it leaves significant discretion for local agencies to voluntarily enter into these agreements, which would divert limited funds and personnel away from doing their jobs like investigating violent crimes. It would increase civil rights and racial profiling abuses and would result in immigrant communities not reporting crimes or cooperating as witnesses out of fear of deportation, which will ultimately increase public safety concerns for everyone in this county. Lastly, there is no language prohibiting honoring of immigration detainers in this new proposal. Under the Galarza case, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit held that ICE administrative detainers are not legally required by federal law to hold individuals beyond their legal release date based solely on an administrative detainer. Detaining individuals on this basis alone without a judicial warrant may result in individuals' Fourth Amendment rights being violated. So again, Commissioner Welby, why was this language on administrative immigration detainers removed from this policy proposal when you know this actually puts the county in a risky predicament, as the county can be held liable for violating individuals' rights under the Fourth Amendment? So again, I am here as a Lackawanna County taxpayer, a resident, someone who is employed in Lackawanna County, to support the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance. However, if you refuse to put this ordinance onto the agenda, which I'm talking about the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance, I urge the commissioners to draw a clear line in this new policy proposal, which would include federal immigration enforcement is federal responsibility, not a local one. By prohibiting immigration status inquiries, ending voluntary 287G participation, which is not a federal mandate, and refusing warrantless immigration detainers, we protect our county from costly lawsuits and keep our employees focused on doing their actual jobs. This isn't a radical request. It is the same standard Montgomery and Allegheny counties just passed to safeguard their communities and budgets. So I urge you to move the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance forward or add these stipulations to the new policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David James Baker. I'm going to speak about the anti-commandeering doctrine as it pertains to the discussion today. The U.S. Constitution allows state and local government the latitude to opt out of federal immigration enforcement via the 10th Amendment, specifically the anti-commandeering doctrine. It states the federal government, quote, may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems nor command the states, officers, or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program, end quote. We, Lackawanna County, are well within our rights to opt out of directly participating in federal immigration enforcement operations. The anti-commandeering doctrine states that localities can't be forced, compelled to use their resources, personnel, facilities, etc., for immigration detention or enforcement, even if it, quote, inevitably frustrates, end quote, federal immigration enforcement, as was determined by the Supreme Court case of the United States v. California in 2019. SB 54, the law in California that was challenged by the United States federal government, prohibited state law enforcement from asking individuals about their immigration status or detaining individuals based on federal immigration hold requests. In its decision, the United States Supreme Court determined that SB 54 undoubtedly, quote, makes the jobs of federal immigration authorities more difficult, end quote, but ultimately upheld the law based on the anti-commandeering doctrine, further stating, quote, any obstruction caused by SB 54 is consistent with California's prerogatives under the 10th Amendment and the anti-commandeering rule, end quote. Pertaining to Commissioner Welby's proposal. It lacks protections for our vulnerable community members. The Supreme Court ruling in the U.S. versus California affirmed that we are well within our rights as a local government to ensure that Lackawanna County staff not ask about immigration or citizenship status, and that no county-related questions should be asking for that status. It also gives us the power to deny detaining individuals based on federal immigration hold requests and to limit local law enforcement's ability to release detained individuals to federal immigration authorities. Commissioner Welby's proposal lacks the important assertion, the power of local government. Courts have consistently held that the 10th Amendment prohibits the federal government from compelling states and localities to participate in immigration enforcement. Other Supreme Court cases that further establish the power of the anti-commandeering doctrine and the authority of state and local governments are New York v. United States, Prince versus United States, Murphy versus NCAA. Anyone got a busted bracket too? All cases found that the federal government cannot commandeer state and local officials to enforce federal regulations. Commissioner Welby's proposal lacks specific language asserting Fourth Amendment protections of unreasonable searches and seizures through the use of judicial warrants that are signed by a judge and specifies the person, property, or areas to be searched by immigration officials when making arrests, versus the use of administrative warrants, which does not grant ICE permission to enter or search your home, person, or any other areas without a reasonable areas with a reasonable expectation of privacy. The Protect Our Neighbors proposal reaffirms Lackawanna County's Supreme Court tested and constitutionally guaranteed rights to preserve balance in the power dynamics between local, state, and federal government policies, especially those policies pertaining to federal immigration enforcement operations. In a time of ever-eroding civil liberties and violent abuses at the hands of federal government and ICE, we absolutely, without question, need to be sticking our collective neck out to protect vulnerable, integral members of our community from potentially deadly civil rights abuses. Commissioner Welby's proposal is less, don't tread on me, and more, press down harder, daddy, your boots taste great. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow, but I'll try. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jessica McGuigan, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and a candidate for Democratic State Committee and a longtime Scranton resident. I've been here before, and the last time I stood at this podium, I talked about actions matching words. I have to return to that today, because what is being introduced this morning is one of the clearest examples I have ever seen of a disconnect between the two. I have read in its entirety the proposed enforcement policy that you put up today, like late last night, might I add. I want to be direct. This is not a modified version of the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance. It's not a compromise. It's the opposite. Commissioner Gaughan's ordinance said simply, county employees will not help ICE detain or remove people unless a judge has signed off on it, drawing a clear line. Our county works for our neighbors, not for federal enforcement. What is being introduced today tells employees how to professionally process an ICE request. I gently push back on Mr. Welby's earlier characterization because I don't feel like it's accurate. This policy explicitly states in writing that nothing in it restricts employees from communicating with federal authorities about immigration status. It only asks that they loop in a supervisor. That's a far cry from forbidding contact with ICE. And then there's this, and I want to read this directly from the document. It says, and I quote, "This policy does not create any new enforcement authority, confer rights upon third parties, limit lawful law enforcement activity." What that means for the rest of us in plain language is this: the people that we have been talking about for months, our neighbors, have no protections under this document. If something goes wrong, if someone's harmed, they cannot point to this policy and say, "You failed me." That was written on purpose. This does not protect our neighbors. It protects the county from accountability while building a more orderly process for cooperation with ICE. And I'm angry about that. And I'm going to name it directly and clearly. Because meeting after meeting, your constituents have overwhelmingly shown up in this room to support the original ordinance. Parents, neighbors, professionals, people of faith, people who were shaking while they spoke, including me. People who took a real risk by standing at this podium because for some of them, being visible, being loud, being on the record is not without consequence. People who go home after these meetings and still have to navigate what it feels like to be unsafe in their own neighborhoods, in their own city, because of their heritage or the color of their skin. Some of us get to leave here and not carry that, including everyone who is in front of me right now. That privilege comes with a responsibility to speak and to demand better from the people who are elected to serve everyone in this room. And the response has been to rewrite the language, change the title, and present it today as if it's what we asked for. That is not compromise. That is dismissal, dressed up as process, and it's frankly insulting. It is exactly the pattern that I named the last time I was here, and you are telling us one thing and doing another. This document has left me no choice but to acknowledge that you simply must not care. And to be honest, that's heartbreaking. Not just politically, but as a human being watching this community show up over and over to be met with a document that was engineered to give their neighbors no protection and no recourse. Commissioners, your constituents have not been ambiguous. They have told you repeatedly and at personal cost what they need from you. And the question today is whether you are capable of letting their voices actually land, or whether you will continue to offer the appearance of action while delivering the opposite. I am asking you to table this policy and return to the Protect Our Neighbors ordinance your constituents actually asked for. Thank you.
Maria Johnson, 30-year Hill resident. Briefly, same point, please table this ordinance, bring back the original Protect Our Neighbors, which has got teeth on. And much has been said about the neighbors we want to protect, immigrants and refugees. Another small category are local law enforcement and officials who are going to be faced with big guys from outside with masks asking them to break the law and violate people's constitutional rights. If they want to say, no, we don't, they need backup, they need teeth, they need to the support of the county, of their employers saying, no, you can't do that. Lackawanna County, we keep the laws here. Federal agents may not care, we care. And if there are those local law enforcement who don't care, they need to be told that, well, the county cares and we're not going to break the law and we're not going to violate constitutional rights. And here's a document that lays this out very clearly. So we need the Protect Our Neighbours ordinance back on the books, because that's prepared to do what needs to be done. This isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll restart. You start.
Oh, well, okay, gotcha. Okay. I should be better at this, having been here a few times now. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Julie Schumacher-Cohen. I'm a resident of the city of Scranton for 16 years. I'm here once again in support of my immigrant and refugee neighbors, vulnerable members of our community who fear the specter of indiscriminate mass deportations, of being harassed, racially profiled, or otherwise detained and deported without due process. So that brings us to the new policy introduced today. As others have shared, we appreciate that this issue continues to be on the forefront of commissioners' minds, and we appreciate that something has been put on the agenda for discussion. However, this policy, as currently formulated, falls quite short of truly protecting all residents of Lackawanna County, regardless of immigration status. My request today is that this policy be tabled and significant changes be made to it, or that we simply revert to the Protect Our Neighbors Act. In particular, I want to point out a few areas of concern. Nowhere in the policy does it state plainly that immigration enforcement is the primary job of the federal government, not local government or local law enforcement. There also has to be transparency in the policy around how supervisors will handle it, which should be to do only what is minimally required. The memo from a Villanova University Law School legal clinic analyzing the Protect Our Neighbors Act stated clearly that, quote, the Constitution permits state and local governments to opt out of participating in federal immigration enforcement. This policy is not opting Lackawanna County out. The Villanova Clinic also said that the ordinance fell well within the county's authority. As they shared, quote, courts have repeatedly affirmed that state and local policies limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement are lawful. The new policy never makes clear what the significant distinction is between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. Administrative warrants are not signed by a judge and are essentially non-mandatory requests. They are not court orders. And nowhere in the policy does it make it clear that immigration detainer use at local prisons is voluntary, not a requirement. And more importantly, that per the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, detaining individuals on the basis of an administrative detainer alone can expose localities to Fourth Amendment civil liability. In other words, this brings legal risk to our county. Why is all of this a big deal? Sending undocumented immigrants to ICE detention, where according to the Cato Institute, 95% of those detained have committed no violent crime, is not some small matter. They are being sent to private, for-profit prisons where many can't sleep like human beings because the lights are left on 24 hours a day, and there are other abuses taking place. Since January of last year, 46 people have died in federal immigration custody. These have included cases of medical neglect, such as a toothache that went untreated and was allowed to turn into septic shock and ended in death. This is also part of a larger detention nightmare, including the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas, where reported court filings of abuse against children have included refusals to provide clean water, a bottle of water costing $36, rotten food contaminated with worms, dangerous lack of medical care, and sleep deprivation. And remember, our federal taxpayer dollars are paying for this instead of housing and health care. Ms. Rachel, who's been called the Mr. Rogers of today for her advocacy for children, has been lifting up these stories. One 13-year-old girl tried to slit her wrist with a plastic knife from the cafeteria after guards took away drawing materials, and she was put into isolation without seeing a doctor. Other stories include how the children chew their nails. Many have regressed to wetting the bed again. They are all deteriorating psychologically. Why would Lackawanna County not want to draw a bright line between the work being done on a local level to do responsible, constitutional law enforcement and this cruelty, lack of due process, and the myriad rights violations happening on the federal level? I hope and trust that there is interest and the will to table today's proposal and amend and improve this policy to bring it in line with the goals and intent of the Protect Our Neighbors Act. As many of us celebrate Holy Week, we might recall the words of Pope Leo, drawing on Scripture. How did you receive the foreigner? Did you receive him and welcome him or not? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Sister Jean Louise Bicchetti, and I'm a sister of IHM, Mary Wood, you would know. So I was surprised to see another rendition of the Protect Our Neighbor Act. And I'm curious, Commissioner Welby, why would you align yourself with ICE agents, a group that has demonstrated inhuman brutality, disrespect for the law, and who have killed 2 U.S. citizens and are protected, tragically, by the U.S. Department of Justice? No justice here. Why would you put your loyal police officers in compromising situations? I think I heard that said too. I ask you to stop playing politics, begin to work together as a team for your people here in Scranton. Demonstrate moral courage, and most of all, integrity and compassion. I wager Pope Leo would not be supportive of your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney Mike Janetta from Scott Township. 2 or 3 weeks ago, an illegal alien was caught in the back seat of a car with a 14-year-old having sex behind a building up in Dixon City. The crime has come to our area. It's not just across the country. Something like that is absolutely intolerable. We see every day a woman, child being raped, murdered, assaulted, abused by illegal aliens. This is simply not sustainable. It's not tolerable. American citizens should not have to put up with this. Lackawanna County needs to be cooperating with federal law enforcement officials to remove illegal aliens from our area and our country, not limiting the ability to cooperate with them. We don't need Tom Welby's resolution, nor do we need Commissioner Gahan's proposed ordinance. That would be far worse. That would make Lackawanna County a sanctuary county like Philadelphia or Allegheny County or Montgomery County. We don't need to go down that road. We need to keep our residents safe here. We need to get these criminal illegal aliens out of our area and out of the country. I've said this before. In 2024, in November, 77 million Americans voted to close the border, finish the wall, and deport the illegal aliens with emphasis on the criminal illegal aliens. That's what we should be doing. We should not be limiting the district attorney, the sheriff, any county officials from cooperating with law enforcement. They should be doing whatever they can to help get rid of the illegal aliens out of our area, particularly the criminal illegal aliens, so we don't have more 14-year-old girls having sex with an illegal alien like we just did up in Dixon City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lorraine Cummings from Old Forge. Mike just talked about American voters. I'd like to talk about Lackawanna County voters. Kamala Harris received 59,510 votes in Lackawanna County. President Trump received 56,261. President Trump lost in Lackawanna County by only 1,630 votes. What you're proposing today does not represent the will of the entire county. It is frustrating to me to hear residents try to go against our police officers, whether they be federal or not. It's shocking, actually, that people are supporting people that are criminals rather than victims. I don't understand that mentality. People spoke at this No Kings rally recently, yet you think you can tell our city employees, not your employees, county employees, they're my employees, they're all of our employees, what they can say when they're questioned and what their beliefs might be, which might be completely different from yours. You're trying to control their speech, but that's okay. You want them to break the law. You want to pass an ordinance for our employees to break the law. How does that make sense to anyone? I don't understand that. Please explain that to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. Mike talked about people that were harmed by illegals. There was a woman in New York who was actually stabbed on a train, just sitting there. A man was allowed to be released 14 times. An illegal alien stabbed a poor young Ukrainian girl on the subway. That's okay? How is that acceptable to anyone? That's ridiculous. Why are citizens actually asking you to create an ordinance to break the law? That's my question. I don't understand that. I really want someone to explain that to me, because it seems backwards to me. I have lists and lists of poor people. I talk about bringing pictures in of people that were murdered and killed. I mean, we see it every day. That's okay. We see crime in Scranton. I'm not a resident of Scranton. It seems like a lot of residents here that are complaining or want this ordinance are from the city of Scranton. The crime in Scranton has skyrocketed. Why are you looking to create more crime in Scranton? I mean, do you not care about the residents that you represent here in Scranton, in the city of Scranton? I mean, in Old Forge, I would hope that if there was illegal aliens down in Old Forge, that they would be brought in and detained. And this was all explained in the prison board meeting last time I asked about it. The only reason that those two people got murdered, wherever they were, I forget where they were from, was because they were fighting our ICE agents, trying to prohibit them from doing their job. I would like to know how many of you here would stop a Scranton police officer from arresting someone. How many of you stop police officers in the middle of the street and blow whistles in their ears to prevent them from doing their job? It's shocking to see what's happening in this country, and it's shocking to hear that people want to continue that in our county. If you pass this ordinance, or any ordinance to prohibit what ICE is doing, we no longer have peace in our county. Then we will have the situations we're seeing in the news, where there's crowds trying to stop people from doing their job and acting insane, blowing whistles in ears of ICE officers and calling them horrible names and attacking them. In Hawaii, one of our ICE officers was just beat up. He was just standing there doing nothing. They threw water on him and beat him up on the street. Is this what you're looking for here in Lackawanna County? Because I'm not looking forward to something like that. And I can't imagine that any of the people that are standing here want that either. But yet here they are asking you to stifle the speech of employees here of the county, along with other citizens and officers. It's not your job. We don't need this ordinance or any other ordinance. And I implore you not to vote on this, or if you do, vote no. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. William Torbeck, Lackawanna County. And Attorney Janetta brought up the case. I'm going to put a name to it because it seems like we got a lot of selective moral outrage here. The name is Tajpal Kishore. Tajpal Kishore, living in Dixon City, which will be in Lackawanna County. He was held at the Carbon County Correctional Facility in Nesquehoning, so where were all the rape whistles, and I didn't see that on the news. All the people, violence that comes out when one of these illegal criminals get arrested. No rape whistles, no violence, no shooting at ICE. Mr. Kishore was arrested numerous of times. That's the history of this gentleman. And the source here is the Times Leader, March 20th of this year, 11 days ago. Okay, he was caught with a minor, numerous sexual assaults. Numerous. Is that what we want more of? Is that what we want more of? Is that really what we want more of? Because obviously, we have some people who are going to ignore, it's willful ignorance, ignore the last 4 years of what came into our country. We have no idea. And don't pretend like we do. Also, I'll bring up an 18-year-old girl in Chicago, 18-year-old student in Loyola University named Sheridan Gormley. Anybody ever heard of her? That name is Sheridan Gormley, 18-year-old student. Anyone? Shot dead by an illegal immigrant. That was arrested numerous of times and let go. A mother of two name was Stephanie Minter in Virginia, just after Virginia just basically elected a particular Democrat who decided they're not going to enforce immigration laws. They're going to just ignore ICE. So that name is Stephanie Minter. Anyone hear of that name? Anyone? Stephanie Minter, mother of two? No, but we all know what ICE, those terrible ICE agents who were doing their duty, and people got in the way of, interfered with them. And now we're supposed to be morally outraged, selective moral outrage. We're supposed to ignore the fact that these people, I believe the name Renee Good and Alex Preddy, got in the way of law enforcement. I'll leave it at that. Just Stephanie Gormley, Stephanie Minter, Sheridan Gormley, and let's remember this illegal in our area that was living in Dixon City. His name was Taj Paul Kishore. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who wants to address the board?
Good morning, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. Thanks for being here. My name is Gary DeBillio. I'm from Scranton, and this is unusual, but I stand here as a resident of Lackawanna County and not there as county controller to express my opinion on the new Lackawanna County policy dealing with federal, state, and local government inquiries, which is on your agenda today. I applaud you for advancing a policy to your agenda. As a citizen, I support a policy, although I'm not privy to what guidelines you may or may not have wanted in this final version. It provides guidelines when dealing with immigration agents, better known as ICE. We all want ICE to do what was originally promised by our government, which is to apprehend the worst of the worst illegal immigrant criminals. All criminals, whether they are illegal immigrants or legal U.S. citizens who have not paid a price for their crimes, should be held to account for their actions. However, unlike our trained local police, what we have seen are masked federal agents scooping people off the streets, too often without legal warrants and based on the color of their skin. That is not the America I know. Let's not sugarcoat it. Our policy you are voting on today is dealing with government agents that have killed people for protesting their aggressively hostile actions. Renee Good and Alex Preddy did not deserve to die. Yet our government not only won't take responsibility, they won't even apologize to the Good and Preddy families. That's not the America I know. There are political forces that want us to believe that the people crossing our southern border from South America are all rapists, murderers, drug dealers, or from insane asylums. That is a lie. The vast majority of people crossing the border are trying to escape famine, poverty, violence, war, and natural disasters. Quite simply, they are desperate. Most have only to cross the Rio Grande River to give their family a chance at a better life, not even knowing the legal way to enter our country. We are a nation of immigrants, and if our ancestors only needed to cross a river to save their families, instead of needing to cross an ocean by ship, our ancestors would have crossed us across that river. There was no swimming from Ireland, Italy, Poland, or anywhere else from Europe to get to Ellis Island. Show me one good father or mother who would not cross a river to save their family. We all want every person to come here legally, but the dire circumstances in Central America make that virtually impossible. In the meantime, let's hope that this new policy makes ICE take off their masks, stop racially profiling people based on the color of their skin, and stop detaining non-criminals without a legal warrant. Undocumented presence is a civil violation, not a criminal one. Detain criminals, not people working hard in our restaurants, in construction, and in landscaping, trying to feed their families. In closing, Lackawanna County is currently being invaded by data centers, which many people, including myself, are fighting. And we don't need to also be invaded by ICE agents from our own government. This is where I stand for the record as a citizen on this legislation. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a moment here to present and acknowledge two proclamations here. And if you would, the first is for the United Way and the Success by 6 initiative. Whereas the first 5 years of a child's life are a critical period for brain development, providing the essential foundation for all future learning, health, and behavior. And whereas a coalition of dedicated health education, parenting, and service providers, in particular the United Way Success by 6 initiative, has launched the Start Strong Together awareness campaign to ensure that every family in our community has the tools to thrive. The Start Strong Together initiative promotes vital cost-free resources, including dental, medical, and vision care provided by the Wright Center and by the Blind Association. Their in-home and community-based parenting, guidance through outreach and early Head Start, early intervention, autism screenings, and behavioral support services via the Northeast Intermediate Unit, the Lackawanna Susquehanna BHIDEI program, Friendship House and the Scranton Counseling Center, and direct connections to local school districts to streamline the transition to kindergarten. Now, therefore, we, Tom Welby, Chris Chermak, and Billy Gaughan, commissioners of the County of Lackawanna, we do proclaim April 1st as Start Strong Together Month here in Lackawanna County. And we will bring up our guests in a minute, but we also want to acknowledge in particular the WRC, formerly known as the Women's Resource Center. Whereas sexual assault is a serious and pervasive issue affecting individuals of all backgrounds with lasting impacts on survivors and communities, Sexual Assault Awareness Month is observed each April to raise awareness, promote prevention, and support survivors. And whereas the 2026 theme, Together We Act, United We Change, highlights the importance of collective action in ending sexual violence, WRC Inc., formerly the Women's Resource Center, celebrating its 50th anniversary in 2026, provided services to 254 survivors of sexual abuse in Lackawanna County in just this past year alone, while delivering critical crisis response, advocacy, and prevention education throughout the community. And whereas all residents of Lackawanna County are encouraged to support survivors by listening, believing, and advocating for systems and policies that promote accountability, healing, and prevention while fostering a culture of consent, respect, and equity. Now, therefore, we, your county commissioners of the County of Lackawanna, do hereby recognize and proclaim April 26th as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Lackawanna County. Do we have representatives from the organizations here with us today?
Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is Mickey Dressel and Paul Stefani on the first proclamation.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Mickey Drutchell. I'm the administrator of the Lackawanna Susquehanna Behavioral Health, Intellectual Disability, and Early Intervention Program, and I am pleased to introduce to you Stacy Nivert and Paul Stefani. Stacy is the Executive Director of Discovery Montessori Preschool, and Paul is the Director of Education Services for the United Way of Lackawanna and Pike Counties. Thank you.
Hi. Good morning, Commissioners. Hi. Thank you for giving just me the opportunity to make a couple of brief remarks. I did want to acknowledge before I started that there is a lot of passion in this room and a real strength of community that we see here today. And these are important matters that are before you. But while you are debating those important matters and continuing to give them the time and attention they need, the work around that still goes on, and that is partly what I wanted to speak to today. Myself and Paul have been working together on what is a large community-wide initiative with the potential to meaningfully improve outcomes for children, families, and our entire community through the Start Strong Together campaign. This campaign, led by Success by Six under the auspices of United Way, is rooted in a simple but urgent reality, which is that families with young children are not lacking services, they are struggling to find them and to access them. Across our communities, parents are navigating a fragmented system of early childhood supports, whether it's access to early learning programs, developmental services, health screenings, behavioral supports, all operating in parallel, but rarely in coordination. As a result, too many families don't realize what exists, don't know what they're qualified for or what they're eligible to receive, and don't connect to services until it's too late. And we see the impact of that every year with children entering kindergarten without the supports they need to succeed. Start Strong Together is the response to that critical need. This is not just a campaign, it is a coordinated, county-wide effort taking place throughout April 26th. Over the course of a full month, we aim to increase awareness of all the services that are out there, share clear information, and guide families toward the available supports that are there. The centerpiece of this campaign, the moments where awareness turns into action, are three strategically located days of action. These are not typical outreach events. They are designed to be one-stop shops for families. At Saturday events in Taylor, Scranton, and Carbondale, families will be able to come in person and determine their eligibility for free preschool programs through Pre-K Counts, Head Start, early learning support programs, and find a program right there and then. Find and access and apply for affordable but quality childcare from as little as $5 a week. Connect directly with the early intervention services for children from both through to 5. Make that appointment. Get in front of the right provider. Find out who it is you need to speak to for the issues about that particular concern. Sign up for the health and developmental screenings that all children need to thrive. Access the behavioral health and family support resources, whether it's in the home or in the community, and engage with the local school districts. They're all in one place, and it's all at one time, with clear guidance focused on the programs, not the providers, so that families can leave with real answers and next steps. This approach aims to remove confusion, reduce duplication, and most importantly, meet families where they are. The strength of this initiative lies in the collaboration that Success by Six has led. They have brought together the partners through health, education, and human services to focus on prevention, early access, and school readiness. These are goals we all share and priorities that align directly with municipal leadership and school district outcomes. The bottom line is this: when children start strong, everything that follows, academic success, workforce development, community well-being, becomes more attainable. This is a practical, collaborative solution to a long-standing challenge. We appreciate the county's support, and we appreciate everything that you are doing to help us ensure more families get the help they need when they need it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, they're going to come up and get their pictures taken with the commissioners, and then we'll go on to the second proclamation.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Everybody ready?
Thanks, everybody. Move my phone over to the sideline here. Yes, thanks, everybody.
We need a wide angle. Make it work.
Thank you.
We could do the other one right now. We'll do the other picture now. Okay, great. Since you're here. Okay.
Articulated it quite well. Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm just going to say. Okay, good. Good. Chief, she's going to say a few words.
I just want to say on behalf of WRC, we are so proud of accepting this proclamation, and thank you for your support and your continued assistance in bringing awareness for survivors of sexual assault, human trafficking, and domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to all of the staff and the volunteers that have been working so hard and working so well on both of these initiatives. We'd like to take a moment and acknowledge a golden employee, a 50-year-plus employee, and to speak of her is Ms. Carrie Browning.
Thank you. Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to celebrate the life of Pat O'Neill today. As many already know, she passed away Friday evening at the young age of 84. This was sudden for us at OIFS because just 2 weeks prior, she was running around the office as she had for the last 50 years, and that is not hyperbole. Pat has been a dedicated servant leader to Lackawanna County for the last 50 years. A classy woman marked with style and grace, she was the epitome of a professional whose work spanned decades. She ran a tight ship in the office, and everyone knew she was in charge, regardless of the person sitting as the director. Her command of punctuality and order kept hundreds of us in line over the years, and we're not quite sure we'll ever be organized again. A funny story about Pat is that she kept a green book. If she wasn't pleased with something you said or did, she would joke that she would put you in the book. And I caution you that this was not limited to our department, and some of you may have had the honor of being mentioned. We found her book earlier this week, hidden in plain sight on her desk. We've had so many laughs reading the excerpts that she wrote about so many of us. It has made this difficult time a little easier, and it truly was her last gift to us. Pat's obituary describes her as a loving and caring matriarch who lived for her family. The same can be said about her work family. She helped raise many of us who have worked with her longer than we would have imagined. She was a part of our marriages, births of our children, and unfortunately a few tragic losses. We treated her like our mother or grandmother, sharing our stories about our lives, relationships, and children. She always had sound advice that we often sought out. To say that our office is reeling from this loss is an understatement, especially since we did not have the opportunity to recognize and celebrate her dedicated career, nor did we get to say goodbye. But I can say with certainty that she loved us all, even though we drove her crazy, and she knew she was loved. Pat O'Neill was an icon who can never be replaced and will be missed dearly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Carrie,
I just want to say one thing. I am so sorry. Pat was a wonderful person. I remember when you and Pat had come up to my office for the proclamation when she had reached the 50-year mark of being a county employee. But she truly was a special person. Obviously, I didn't know her as well as all of you did, but just in the short time that I got to know her, she really was something else. So we're very, very sorry.
Thank you.
And we join you and your co-workers and Ms. O'Neill's family and friends in offering our love and prayers and condolences to the family and to you all, which obviously are her work family. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on to resolutions. Resolution 26-0098.
Mr. Approving the current payables, be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the following payables. Lackawanna County's General Fund, numbers 398470-399014 inclusive, totaling $3,232,954.23. The county's electronic fund transfers, including all payroll accounts, in total is $6,806,332.05. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0085.
It's approving the Hazardous Materials Response Grant Agreement. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve and authorize the grant submission by the Lackawanna County Emergency Management to the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency for the Hazardous Materials Response Grant Agreement, adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is our Director of the EMA, Mr. Tom Taylor.
Morning, Commissioners. This is an annual grant we receive every year. This grant is usually around $10,000. It helps support the hazardous materials safety program in the county. It supplements money that we get we can purchase equipment and do maintenance on equipment we already own. So it's no cost to the county. It's 100% covered.
That's good news. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0086.
It's approving the Radiological Emergency Response Grant. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the submission of the Radiological Emergency Response Fund Grant for 2627 with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency by the Lackawanna County Department of Emergency Management. Adopt the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Once again, Mr. Chairman, here is Director Taylor.
Commissioners, this is a grant that we are a support county for Luzerne County for the Talon Energy power plant in Berwick. We receive, if there was ever a on-site emergency, we would receive evacuees to our area. This grant helps with the purchase of equipment, again, and the calibration of our radiological meters within the county. It also covers overtime costs if there are any accrued with any training or exercises that we are mandated by the federal government.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution approved.
Thank you.
Resolution 26-0089.
This is entering into a Fifth Amendment, the Food Service Management Agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby enter into a Fifth Amendment to the Food Service Management Agreement between the Lackawanna County Prison and Aramark Correctional Services, LLC. It starts September 1st, 2026 through August 31st, 2028. Adopted a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. David Bolzoni.
Good morning, Commissioners. The county received a request to amend the 2018 contract with Aramark, principally to adjust pricing for the delivery of food services to the prison. The original 2018 contract was extended by amendment to a conclusion date of August 31st, 2028. And although this amendment would allow for an annual review and extension following this date, that portion of it is recommended as well. Adjustments are applied to two principal cost components, and these would be the two principal cost components for the overall contract. Inmate meals, which are the significant portion of the overall cost, and also to a lesser extent staff meals. Using the pricing rationale that was memorialized in the 2023 amendment, cost increases cannot exceed the Bureau of Labor Statistics pricing measure of food away from home. And the most recent indexed measure listed an annualized cost of 4.1%. The amended pricing meets this benchmark requirement. And that requirement was memorialized in Amendment 3. I believe it was Amendment 3, where the pricing has to be consistent with the CPI benchmark. The gross cost increases to $1,184,633.78 for inmate and staff meals. The amendment does remove a certain category of revenue share, and there were two different components that of which this category consisted. The total amount of that revenue share for last year was $36,329.26, which, if you remove that cost share, the revenue share, if you remove the revenue share, it increases the net cost of these two program categories to $1,220,963.04. It's still a fairly favorable adjustment in cost, and it falls well within the budget for food service by the prison. The unit cost of inmate meals at $1.432 remains favorable compared to a list of 9 peer counties in the Aramark program. We're actually the lowest out of 9 peer counties that are in the Aramark system. It's really their lowest unit cost for inmate meals. Staff meals at $3.626 are higher than their average of $2.85, but 3 of the counties do not offer staff meals, and 2 use the same unit cost that's applied to inmate meals. So the pricing even on staff meals is pretty reasonable. The service costs have to be revisited on an annual basis. So the purpose of this amendment is really to adjust pricing. Since the contract has 2 years remaining, we'll be revisiting this pricing a year from now. And again, it has limits based on the application of the annual CPI for food away from home. So we'll be working within that context a year from now. Based on the proposal submitted by Aramark and the value and consistency of service delivery, which is also important, and I'm sure to which the warden would attest, I'd recommend approval of this amendment.
And in the prison board meeting, it also was brought up about besides the low cost that we show with these, there's very few complaints about the food as well, which was good to hear. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0090.
This is approving the employee life insurance proposal. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the county employee life insurance proposal from the Hartford. It's a 3-year contract to commence April 1st, 2026. Adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, this resolution is to approve a 3-year contract with Hartford Insurance through Tri-Ben to provide the county's life and AD&D insurance. The contract will not have an auto-renew at the end of the 3-year term, which will openly allow the county to go out to market to ensure that we are receiving the best policy for the employees. All current life insurance benefits will remain the same as compared to what was offered through our current carrier, and there will be no disruption in the benefits during the transition. Hartford also offers an employee assistance program that is included with the contract. Tri-Ben went out to market with an RFP and received other quotes from various national carriers. Hartford was determined as the best option, saving the county almost $127,000 over the life of the contract. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0095.
It's approving the submission of the PCC grant application. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the submission of the Pennsylvania Crime on Commission and Delinquency Grant application for Lackawanna County Treatment Court for medically assisted treatment provided by Armor Health at the Lackawanna County Prison for the amount of $168,825. Adopted regularly meeting. The Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, the Treatment Court Project Director, Mr. Gregory Betts.
Good morning, Commissioners. So, as Chief Jeffers said, this is a PCCD grant. This is a 24-month grant at $168,000. The grant will begin July 1st, 2026, and June 30th, 2028. The grant is going to pay for Sublocade shots for some prisoners at Lackawanna County Prison. The cost per shot is approximately $1,550. That was the number given to us by Armor. Armor will provide us data and information for quarterly reporting, and there is no downside to this grant. It is a non-competitive grant from the state. Like I said, there are no downsides to this grant.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0096.
It's approving a partnership with Steamtown National Historic Site. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby enter into a partnership agreement with the Steamtown National Historic Site via the special use permit that will allow Lackawanna County coal mine staff to utilize the locomotive shop at the Steamtown National Historic Site to complete repairs and maintenance on the coal mine tour's car during the winter months. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is our Director of Parks, Mr. Paul Bechtel.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm here asking for the Commissioners for their approval of a partnership between the County of Lackawanna and Steamtown National Historic Site. It will allow us to utilize the shop, the locomotive shop in the winter months, and it will have the staff be able to work in a drier, warmer, safer condition when completing these tasks and repairs in the winter, rather than currently where they're doing now, working under a tarp, which is exposed to the elements. The partnership will also increase education and marketing of the coal mine tour. Per Megan Stevens at Steamtown, they also are in favor of this collaborative partnership that can leverage the unique strengths of both the sites and enhance visitor experiences and preserve our natural and shared industrial heritage. And they believe that integrating the narratives of the railroading and coal mining heritage will provide visitors with more comprehensive understanding of the region's natural and industrial history.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? Paul, what you all been doing there, and also the Trolley Museum people, what you all been doing together with Steamtown is just terrific. And we have coming up in June a cooperation agreement with the park and Steamtown and the Trolley Museum with the twin of the Big Boy engine that's at Steamtown, which I'm sure many of you, if you've been to Steamtown at National Historic Site, you've seen Big Boy. It's just a massive train. There is one twin, so to speak, of it that actually is operating. It's going to be coming into town in June, in the middle of June, and will be staying here for a bit, and they expect tens of thousands of visitors to our region, and they'll be visiting our parks and our Trolley Museum, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0101.
Entering into an agreement with Pitney Bowes, be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby enter into a lease agreement with Pitney Bowes to replace the existing postage machines for the Department of Elections voter registration and the Office Services mailroom. Agreements to cost a combined $1,468.67 per month. Adopted a regular meeting. The Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman, Pitney Bowes has a proprietary technology which gives them an advantage over their competitors. This newer technology offers discounted rates, helps cut down on double feeding and misstamped postage, while also being the fastest and most efficient postage machine on the market. Also, the date and time stamp feature comes standard on the PB machines. This helps to ensure security and transparency with the election ballots when received by Election Bureau. And these two postage machines will make 12 machines used by Lackawanna County. with the sheer volume of the mail being generated by the county Pitney Bowes has proven that they are the most reliable and consistent in the market, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0103. Lackawanna County, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is adopting an enforcement policy.
Dealing with federal, state, and local enforcement inquiries. This is something that we appreciate all of the comments that have been made over the last several weeks regarding this, and it's not something that is easy to deal with. It's not something that is easy to come up with a resolution, a policy regarding this. And again, the policy does not allow any of our employees to speak with any law enforcement inquiries, including ICE, federal, state, or local. And as far as collecting information, well, I can't speak to that for some of the agencies that operate within the county, but I can speak that the employees will not be sharing any information without input from council. As far as the not including the 287G, well, these county commissioners will never approve an agreement with 287G, and that's I can tell you that Commissioner Gahan would never approve it, and I can tell you that I would never approve it. There are a lot of issues that I know you all want to see included in this. This is something I've thought perhaps a motion to table it might be the thing to do, and hope that we can come to another agreement on it. But what we can do with this policy, in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, at any time, we can add an amendment to it as we so choose, as we as whatever we choose. An amendment can be added to this at any time. That amendment can deal with anything at any time. So with that, do we have a motion?
Well, I do have some other comments too. So as far as I know, as for a policy.
Let me read the policy and.
Well, let me go first. So, for policies, we don't have to vote on policies. Policies we can just put in place. So, and I've been hearing a lot about Protect Our Neighbors Act for an ordinance. Well, let me just say a few names here. We have a 24-year-old Kimberly Flores. We have 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman. We have 20-year-old Lakin Riley. 37-year-old Rachel Morin. 20-year-old Kayla Hamilton. 37-year-old Megan Boss. 48-year-old Santiago Morales. 15-year-old Luis Lopez. 18-year-old Haley Hagelson. 7-year-old Ivory Smith, 10-year-old Alex Weiss Jr., Aurelio Orbez, 20-year-old Molly Tibbetts, 17-year-old Jamil Shaw. So, that's a lot of names. Thankfully, none of them here from Lackawanna County. We're talking about protect our neighbors. Who's protecting them? Who protected them? They lost their lives because of illegal aliens, people that shouldn't have been here, people that had rap sheets, and people that ICE agents were looking for. My only comment is, I swore to take an oath here as a county commissioner to obey and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth. As a county commissioner, I believe that the county and its employees should follow the law, and if there are any questions regarding what the law is, we should immediately consult with our county solicitor's office for guidance. I believe in the rule of law. I believe that law enforcement should enforce the laws that exist in this country, and that their enforcement actions should be performed lawfully. If their actions are not lawful, then there are laws in existence to deal with illegal actions by law enforcement, and they should also be enforced. And this part you're not going to like, but I cannot and will not be a party to any policy that has a potential to interfere with any law enforcement agencies to attempt to carry out their lawful duties, nor do I believe Lackawanna County should be a party in any such policy. I believe that a policy directed at these actions of immigration officials could make Lackawanna County one of the first sanctuary counties in the country. It would put a target on the backs of Lackawanna County and its employees. We would be exposing Lackawanna County and its employees for potential lawsuits from the federal government and those entities seeking to protect illegal immigrants. I refuse to put either the county or its employees in such a position. This policy will not provide a bright light procedure for our employees when dealing with law enforcement inquiries. Rather, it will create confusion and uncertainty. In short, it's not our employees' responsibility to decide how best to handle such an inquiry. A truly bright light policy is simple. When a federal or state local law enforcement official makes an inquiry to a county employee, the county employee should immediately contact our chief of staff and our solicitor, period. That's the policy we need. I would never agree to a policy that would even appear to limit law enforcement from legally doing their job, or that would prevent Lackawanna County or its employees from complying with the legitimate actions of federal, state, and local authorities. Therefore, I will not support an ordinance or a policy that I believe attempts to do so. That's what I have to say. You can read the policy, but again, I don't think we need to vote on policies.
Want me to read it? Ready? Okay. You gonna jump in?
I wait till on the question.
This is adopting an enforcement policy. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby adopt the Lackawanna County government policy for interaction with federal, state, local, and enforcement officials. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
So I'll make a motion to introduce this. If there's a second.
Second.
On the question?
On the question?
On the question, there's a lot to unpack here, so let me see how I can do this. The first thing is, I respectfully disagree with Commissioner Chermak's stance on this issue. All you have to do is look at the statistics in terms of crime in the United States. And I know that some people don't like to look at the facts and like to gloss over them, but the facts are that illegal immigrants, undocumented citizens commit the smallest amount of crime compared to everyone else. That's not me making that up. That's a fact. Look it up. Look at the statistics. What Commissioner Chermak just kind of went through, in my opinion, and obviously there's a disagreement here, is just a scare tactic.
Just like what you always have. You're the king of scare tactics.
I'm just trying to be respectful here and explain why I'm disagreeing with one point that you made, that's all. Anytime anyone commits a crime, no matter who it is, whether they're white, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're illegal, whether they're an alien, whether they're from outer space, it's wrong, obviously. And any normal human being would agree to that, okay? What I don't agree with is the idea that we have to deport, this idea of mass deportation. If they go through with their plan, their grand plan, Project 2025 or whatever else they call it, and they are successful and they deport every single person, every single immigrant, illegal immigrant, what are they going to do to the white people who commit crime? I mean, the concept just doesn't make sense to me. So I disagree with that. I introduced the Protect Our Neighbors Ordinance over a month ago for one simple reason, and that was to make sure that we protected both our residents and our employees when it comes to immigration enforcement. You know, not only did I introduce it because of what I was witnessing happen across the country, but I think everyone has to remember that the other thing that spurred me to do it was one of our own department directors in Lackawanna County was approached by an ICE agent informally, kind of through the back door. Hey, get me information on this person. That raised so many red flags and contributed to the effort that I made to put a policy, an ordinance in place so that that doesn't happen. Immigration enforcement under the Trump administration, in my opinion, has become very, very aggressive, chaotic, and in many cases frightening to ordinary people. Obviously, there's people who have showed up here over the last month and a half. Families being separated, individuals being taken into custody without clear judicial warrants, people being stopped and detained because of their accent or the color of their skin, American citizens who are detained, who are currently in detention because of these policies. Again, I'm not making this up. We've all seen the videos. We've all read the reports. This is happening and has been happening for quite some time. People being picked up at workplaces and neighborhoods and sometimes in front of their children. ICE agents storming neighborhoods and buildings and cities like a modern-day Gestapo, abandoning, in many cases, in my opinion, the rule of law. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, no one should be comfortable with county employees potentially being put in the middle of that chaos without clear rules and protections. Federal immigration enforcement, obviously, is the responsibility of the federal government, not local county workers. And the Constitution is clear. If the government wants to detain someone or access certain records, they need a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Now, the ordinance that I put forward over a month ago would have simply put that into law. It would have created a clear, bright line that without a judge's warrant, the county does not participate in immigration enforcement. Now, let me say this. In normal times, and we're not in normal times, in my opinion, most normal people would not even be thinking about ICE or about this whole issue in general. But because of the aggressive and unlawful actions that we all have eyes in our head, we can all clearly see what's going on here, of the federal government and ICE, I strongly feel that we have to protect our residents and protect our employees because I think that we are headed down a very dark and dangerous road. Now, there are some who will say, well, that's not really happening in Lackawanna County. It is. You may not see it. Most of us don't see it, but it is. There have been, over the last month and a half, several people have gotten up and have given very specific situations that have happened in South Scranton and throughout Lackawanna County. Whether you agree with it or not, it is happening. And I think it's incumbent upon us as elected officials to say, this is what they're doing. Here's the road that they are potentially going to go down, and we should be proactive instead of waiting until it happens and then reacting. Now, the policy on the agenda today put forward by Commissioner Welby takes a somewhat different approach. And before I give my comments on this, let me just say, I have great respect for Commissioner Welby. I appreciate that this is even on the agenda for discussion, although I have some disagreements with it. But there is no, people brought up pettiness and all that. The only thing I'm interested in doing is getting something done because I feel very strongly about this. If I didn't feel strongly about it, I wouldn't be talking about it and I wouldn't have put something forward myself. The policy that Commissioner Welby put forward, instead of setting firm rules, provides guidance. What employees should do, who they should call, and how to respond. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but in my opinion, it does not go as far as I believe it should. It leaves gray areas where I would prefer, and I think most people that got up and spoke today would prefer clear boundaries. I also think it's important to note that an earlier version of the policy that's on the agenda today included stronger protections and stronger language, and almost all of that, for reasons that I'm still not clear on, was removed. So in my opinion, this is not as strong as it could have been. So based on that, and the fact that I don't want to vote against this because I'm happy that something's on the agenda and we're discussing it, I do think that we can take this and we can make it stronger. We can work with the Pennsylvania Immigration Coalition, and Commissioner Welby asked in an email for their input, which I did appreciate because they are the experts on this issue and are on the front lines of it. I would just ask and make a motion to table this at this point, take the framework, and then add on to it, make it stronger, and give people time to look at it, and then introduce it from there. So I'll make a motion that we table this at this point and make some changes to it.
Second. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, do we have a motion on the floor?
And then I made a motion to table it. So I made a motion, Commissioner Welby seconded it. Correct? You seconded it, right? Yes.
On the question, I hesitate tabling this. It took a lot to get here, and again, what we have here is something that I think, there's been interpretations that people have quoted, and in those interpretations, the caveat is that it is likely that if we were to enforce any of the things that would have been included in the ordinance, it is likely that we would not be prosecuted or sued for it. Likely that we would not be prosecuted or sued for enforcing the ordinance that was originally opposed. Likely not sued, likely not prosecuted. Doesn't work for me. It's just, I don't know how anybody could agree to that, but that's a big issue for me. I'd like to see this go forward and adopt it and move forward with these guidelines tomorrow, not waiting, and then amend it as we see fit. We might want to amend it to include language, even though I feel very strongly about 287G, and I know Commissioner Gahan feels very strongly about 287G. Maybe we could include that as an amendment in the future. Tabling this now, I don't know what we're going to come up with in the future, if we're going to come up with anything in the future. But I respect Commissioner Gahan and his passion for this, and so that's my comment on it. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, you're voting on.
This is the motion to table.
Motion to table, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Resolution 26-0092.
These are appointments to the Workforce Development Board. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby reappoint the following individual to the Workforce Development Board with a term to commence on April 1st, 2026 and continue through March 31st, 2029. Mr. Drew Simpson, Regional Manager for Pennsylvania Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, as the sitting representative of labor and apprenticeship affiliation. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners does hereby appoint the following individual to the Workforce Development Board representing economic development with a term to commence April 1st, 2026 and continuing through March 31st, 2029. Mr. Tom Carlucci, he's the Director of the Lackawanna County Economic Development Department and representing the economic or community development sector. Adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
On the
Second.
question?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 26-0094.
These are appointments to the Lackawanna Susquehanna BHID-EI Advisory Board. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County to hereby reappoint the following individuals to the Lackawanna Susquehanna BHID-EI Advisory Board. Ms. Sarah McDonald of Scranton, a term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2028. Mr. James Scott of Clark Summit, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2028. Commissioner Chris Shermack, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2026. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby appoint the following individuals to the Lackawanna Susquehanna BHID EI Advisory Board. Richard Kane of Scranton, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2028. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? Thank you to those that are being reappointed. Also, welcome to Mr. Kane from West Scranton, who will begin his service with this group. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Resolution 25-0097.
These are appointments to the Lackawanna County Redevelopment Authority. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby reappoint the following individuals to the Lackawanna County Redevelopment Authority. Mr. Timothy O'Brien of Dunmore, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2030. Mr. John J. McNulty of South Abington Township, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2029. Be it further resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby appoint the following individual to the Lackawanna County Redevelopment Authority. Colby Calley of Dunmore, term to fill an unexpired term and to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2027. Adopted at a regular meeting. Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? Thank you to Mr. O'Brien and Mr. McNulty for your continued service, and welcome to Mr. Calley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Resolution 26-0010, 26-0100.
It's an appointment to the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby appoint the following individual to the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority. Joe Guido of Scranton, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2030. Adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution approved. Resolution 26-0093.
These are appointments to the Lackawanna County Fair and Recreation Authority. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby appoint the following individuals to the Lackawanna County Fair and Recreation Authority. Elizabeth O'Brien of Troop, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2029. Brooks Hanna of Moscow, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2026. Gary J. Ford of South Abington Township, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2029. Gerald Smurl of Scranton, term to begin immediately and expire on December 31st, 2027. Be further resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby reappoint the following individual to the Lackawanna County Fair and Recreation Authority. Sherry Pritchett of Scott Township, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2030. Adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Resolution 26-0104.
Sir, appointments to the Lackawanna County Library Board. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby reappoint the following individual to the Lackawanna County Library Board. William Zacher of Scranton, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2026. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby appoint the following individual to the Lackawanna County Library Board. Bo Lotney of Dunmore, term to begin immediately and expire December 31st, 2028. Adopted at a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on April 1st, 2026. Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution approved. Motion 26-0087. It's a motion, I'm sorry.
It's a motion to award the Ash Gap Bridge Replacement Project to Michigan Incorporated, 453 Ziegler Street, DuPont, Pennsylvania. The lowest responsible bidder with a total bid of $1,480,000. Here to speak upon that is the county engineer, Mr. Frank Suma.
Good morning, everyone. This project is for the Ash Gap Road Bridge replacement in Springbrook Township. This bridge originally needed to be closed approximately 5 years ago due to structural concerns, and a temporary short-term bridge was installed to keep the roadway open. The project would provide a permanent full bridge replacement. The new bridge will be a 40-foot span concrete adjacent box beam bridge on concrete abutments, and it will be constructed at the same location as the existing bridge, while a temporary road crossing will be installed adjacent to that location to keep the roadway open during construction. The entire construction duration is anticipated to take 9 months to complete. A public bid for the construction contract was conducted, and 4 bids were received, with low bidder being Minneke Construction at a price of $1,480,000. Minicky has a good prior work history with the county and provided all required bid securities. Therefore, we recommend the contract be awarded to Minicky.
A motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Aye.
Motion approved. Motion 26-0091.
This is a motion to award the shingle roof replacement at the Lackawanna County Coal Mine Hoist House to H&P Construction of Colt Mountain, Pennsylvania, the lowest, most responsible bidder, with a bid of $39,160. Here to speak upon that is our Parks Director, Mr. Paul Bechtel.
Hello again. Yes, so I'm not looking for permission and approval for the shingle roof. We had 4 bidders: Beaver Home Improvements, Dunmore Roofing, H&P Construction, and Minicky. The lowest base bid was $39,160 by H&P Construction. And we are doing just the hoist house, which has a lot of disrepair on the roof, and that's a priority. I know this is just one part of the ongoing initiatives that we have set forward to improve the facilities at the coal mine tour. This is going to be paid for by, we have a $125,000 grant from LSA Monroe. So that'll be, some of the money will be spent on the roof. The rest of it, we are going to look at reopening the tipple down the bottom right, doing some improvements to the landscaping and the grounds, and hopefully improving some of the mannequins and other displays within the coal mine tour itself. And the coal mine opens tomorrow.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Another question? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion approved. Last and certainly not least, motion 26-0099.
This is a motion to award the refurbishing and painting of Lackawanna County's Electric City Trolley Car 206 to Tunis Auto Body of Old Forge at the cost of $20,000. Here to speak upon that is our Director of the Trolley, Mr. Chris Calavy.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for considering this, the refurbished car 206. It's one of 18 cars that was put into service back in 1930, 1931. There are only 10 remaining in the country. We're fortunate to have one. By refurbishing it and painting it, it'll smooth out the rust spots when people go over to the public and they touch it and they walk around it for pictures and that. So it'll be a safety feature. It'll be in addition to when you're approaching the Trolley Museum, it'll be more welcoming because it's outside. I've been there 17 years. When I first started, it was pristine. Over the years, it just got weathered. So that's why we're asking that we can paint it, refurbish it, and also to protect the inside of it because it's leaking. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion approved. We have an opportunity for the public to address the board.
Hello. Could you hear me okay? I don't like talking into a mic, so. I'm Kristen Armstrong, so some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm the 4-H educator for Lackawanna County. We've been doing a lot of great things this past year and past month, and we have a lot of great things coming up. So I just thought I'd come and kind of share what we've been doing in the community. So first of all, this March was Ag Literacy Week. Lackawanna County actually participated for the first time ever, and it was greatly received. We read to about 100 first graders at Carbondale Elementary, and we taught them about agriculture. So one fun fact I'll actually share with you all so you can see what the kids were learning is 1 acre of soybeans makes 82,000 crayons. So the kids were totally amazed by that. They told me they can use all those crayons, no problem. They didn't have any question about it. So that's just kind of some of the stuff we do at Ag Literacy, just going out, making sure kids understand what agriculture is and how it's affecting them in their real life. We also did another program this March where we have to do, we don't have to do, I make the kids do, community service. So we decided to make paper flowers for our veterans at the Gino Murley Center. They'll actually get delivered tomorrow. So we made about 200 flowers. This way they could keep them and hopefully brighten up their spring a little bit and add some joy to the community. Also, the last thing I've been working on that I'm actually very excited about is our Junior First Responders program. I know it's something that you commissioners were looking for. First of all, I have no idea about first responders and what they do. I'm going to be totally honest. If there's a fire in my house, I know how to dial 911. I don't even know how to change a smoke detector. So I appreciate everything that they do. So the city of Carbondale, Michelle Bannon, our mayor, and the fire department have been nothing but supportive in this program. So that's where we're going to start it. Our open house is April 21st from 5:30 to 7:30. So I hope everybody could come. I'm telling everyone to bring people, bring kids. We look forward to having everyone there. We've also reached out to the Scranton Fire Department. We had an impromptu meeting with them this week, Dan Hollowich, and they're 100% behind this. They're going to bring one of their arson dogs to one of our working dog clubs so that kids could see that. I didn't know that Lackawanna County even had an arson dog. So I'm learning more and more about this program. Also, I like to take it one step beyond this. So I've been thinking, if kids don't just want to be a firefighter, EMT, something in that emergency preparedness field, how else can I get them in this program to add to our county in Lackawanna? So I've reached out to the medical college, and they're willing to partner with us in this program and try and bring in some of their students to help our students. And then I like to talk, so when I see the time going. And then we also have some other programs that are going to be happening that tie into this first responders program. Geisinger is going to be doing a Kids in the Garden safety program. We have a yoga class starting, and we're starting Walk with a Doc this year in Scranton for our kids to get familiar with what doctors do. So Dr. Daniel Schust has offered to come and be our first doctor to walk with kids. He's also a native to Lackawanna County, and he also attended college here at the Commonwealth Medical College. So kids can see what we can offer them here in Lackawanna County. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just, the three commissioners here just absolutely love your passion for what you're doing, and also for the programs that you allow our kids and adults to participate in.
Well, the EMS thing that's important to me. I started, I don't even want to know how many, 40-some years ago as a first responder, and when I first started, there wasn't enough room on the vehicles for all the volunteers that showed up. Now we're lucky if we can even get a crew to get the trucks out and the vehicles out. So, I hope that sparks a lot of interest, and I hope the kids, take to it, because it's so important and we need them. So that's awesome, and I'll be there.
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. Well, reassessment's a done deal. Property taxes have been mailed out. I'd like to know, have we identified all those criminals who managed to keep their properties off the tax rolls so that we can put them on a wall of shame downstairs in the lobby? No answer, okay. Well, my parents' house was built in 1964 after our other house had caved and we lost everything. The house and the land were assessed at $15,000. The reassessment reassessed them at $141,400. But guess what? The taxes went down 40%. So you see, there is a God. Now, I would like to know, where are all the people that were concerned that their taxes are going to go through the roof? I would like to see them come forward now. And also, this is what I want. Tyler Technologies and the assessment office downstairs should be able to tell us what percentage of property owners had their taxes go up, go down, or stay relatively the same. That's what they put out in all their briefings. So I think the taxpayers are due a whole lot of feedback on reassessment, and don't think I'm not going to mention it again. Also, so this is Early Childhood Awareness Month. Well, one of the most important things for children is learning to read. And I was so pleased when in November of 2022, county commissioners created a literacy committee. And I pulled the enacting legislation Duties: to conduct regular public meetings to gain input and information relevant to the promotion of education and literacy. Another one, to make an annual report to the Lackawanna County Board of Commissioners of its progress, findings, and recommendations. Well, as I told you before, I stood downstairs for the January meeting, doors were locked. February meeting, doors were locked. March meeting, doors were locked, but they courteously put up a sign, meeting canceled. Don't know why. Also, I did a right to know. I wanted copies of all those annual reports for 2023, 24, and 25. This is the response I got back. Your requests are denied. Please see Section 705 of the Pennsylvania Right to Know law, which states, quote, an agency shall not be required to create a record which does not currently exist. Well, see, in 2023, you didn't have to create the annual report because the record didn't currently exist. So I suspect there is no 2023 annual report, or probably for 2024, 2025. You go on the county's website for their page, and the last minutes that they ever posted were for February of 2025. What is going on with this literacy committee? Now, I know you just appointed a lot of people to the various boards, and the vast majority of people serving on these boards are doing a very good job. But I am just kind of shut out, and I will tell you, literacy made me, and I got to be literate through the Scranton Public Library, because I was poorer than dirt as a child. And if it weren't for the library and its services, I would not have been academically successful. I have 5 degrees, thank you very much, or professionally successful, then I'm able to support myself and I was able to support my family. So I'm going to continue pursuing this literacy committee to the day I die and advocating for public libraries. And I'm not going to let this literacy committee off the hook. They should be ashamed of themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. And 2 things. We will see if we can get a list of assessed properties that did not previously exist on the tax rolls. We'll see if we can get that for you, as well as the other information you asked for. And Chief Jeffers, I believe the Literacy Committee has a meeting coming up. Can we find out what? We don't know the next date. Okay, we'll find out.
Can I add something real quick
please.
on the Literacy Committee? So the Literacy Committee is headed up by a woman named Sandy Lamanna, who I talk to now more than I talk to my own wife, because and I'm being serious, it's a group of people who are former educators, reading specialists, and they really are doing a good job. Maybe it's not being publicly promoted as much as it should be, but I know that they were going to come to a commissioners meeting and go through all of the things that they've done, because they actually have done a lot since they have been commissioned by the last administration. And I know they're doing a good job because I talk to them a lot. In terms of who dropped the ball on the meetings and that, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I can assure you, Joan, that they have done a lot of work, and it's a bunch of people who are committed to literacy. And so we'll get you an update on that. But I think that they'll be coming to a meeting to talk about what they've done. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Madonna Munley, and I am a resident of Archibald. I have previously requested that you find a way to help the citizens of Archibald in our struggle to maintain the health, safety, and welfare of our borough. We are facing the development of 6 data center campuses with a total of 51 individual data center buildings, over 1,000 diesel-fueled generators, storage tanks for that diesel fuel, utility substations, switch yards, and more recently, plans for a power plant and 8 additional miles of high-voltage power lines. At this point, you have to be aware that we in Archibald and the residents of other communities in the county are fighting for our families, our friends, and our neighbors. It's your decision to voice your support or remain non-committal. Commissioner Gahan, we know from your words and more importantly your actions that you continue to have our backs. But today I'm here to request that the county find a way to protect the two county investments, Aylesworth Park and the site of the County Housing Authority in German. According to the county website, Aylesworth Park has, quote, a picturesque location that makes it a perfect spot for lake swimming, fishing, picnicking, or a stroll around the new lake trail. The park features a multi-purpose field, softball field, bocce court, and horseshoe court. In addition, residents can enjoy a 4-acre lake stocked twice a year by the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission and a beach, a pavilion complex that can be reserved for groups of up to 150 people, a lake trail, numerous hiking trails, and picnic tables and grills. However, if Project Green Mountain is approved, visitors will also be able to enjoy being less than 1 mile from 7 two-story data center buildings with 196 diesel-fueled generators routinely tested and releasing emissions that are harmful to the public's health and which are exempt from the borough's sound limits during that testing. The sounds of nature will be enhanced with the sound of 280 roof-mounted cooling systems mimicking the sound of motorcycles. And for several years, the soothing sound of nearby construction as visitors to the park hike and enjoy a relaxing picnic. The second affected county investment is the German site of the County Housing Authority with 52 housing units. The county website describes this as sitting in picturesque local hills 12 miles north of Scranton. It is a strong family-oriented community with access to activities and events. This site accommodates both elderly and families. It has a daycare center within the site. This development is approximately 2 blocks from public transportation and is located in a neighborhood not too far from any retail stores, pharmacies, or schools. If the Project Gravity Data Center development is approved, these residents, both elderly and families, and the children in the daycare center will also be located not too far from 7 70-foot-tall data center buildings. They will breathe the toxic emissions from 196 diesel-powered generators that carry the hazardous particles, and they will experience the low-level sound frequencies that can cause additional health conditions such as stress, cognitive, and cardiovascular issues. An added feature, Project Gravity will use 360,000 gallons of water per day taken from Lake Scranton. These two data center campuses, Project Green Mountain and Project Gravity, will cause these and other negative effects on properties directly under the responsibility of the county. Hopefully, these connections to the county will be enough for you to take some action, if not to protect your constituents, then to protect your investments. And one other thing I would like to mention today. I would like to commend Commissioners Gahan and Welby for the respect they show the people who express their concerns here by looking at those people as they speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. First and foremost, I would also like to say thank you to Commissioner Gahan for everything that you said today, but also, and maybe even more importantly, a thank you to Commissioner Welby, because I know, I can only imagine the hard work that you put into the item that was on the agenda today, and I know it is not easy to hear us out and be able to table that, and I want to express my gratitude for that. And I also want to express my gratitude for your strong stance saying that you don't support 287G agreements. And I appreciate you making that clear. And I also appreciate you being open to amendments and changes. We all know government isn't perfect. Things change. Sometimes things have to be updated. And I appreciate that. And it is my hope that with this being tabled, that you and the other commissioners will work together to create a better version. Maybe it's a middle form of what we've heard, and I look forward to that. I also wanted to bring up that I appreciate everyone who's come out here today, because this is how government is supposed to work. We are supposed to hear from the public, and our elected officials are supposed to consider what we have to say, even those who may disagree what I have to say, and maybe I disagree with what you had to say. I appreciate that, because that is your right to come up here. It is a privilege for all of us to have this, because not because the opportunity to speak, because there's many in our community who don't have an opportunity to do this, whether it be for simply they are working and they don't have the time. Obviously, this meeting meets at 10 in the morning, but also not everybody looks like me. Not everybody is a white, straight presenting man and can go around and seemingly do what they want. Some people, that is not the reality for them. And unfortunately, they may not show up here out of fear. I also wanted to talk about how it is my hope that, and it's my understanding that anyone who comes up here is supposed to speak to the board and direct our comments to the board. Earlier this morning, some of those comments were not directed towards the board. They were directed towards the audience. And I would say, even for those who agree with me, that if we could keep those comments directed towards the board, as that is my understanding is how it's supposed to be done, I think it's disrespectful to point those comments to those in the audience, and please show respect to everyone, even if you disagree with what they have to say. For those who came up here and stated, in my opinion, silly opinions that because the presidential election was won by Donald Trump, that he is a supreme dictator and anything that he supports, we have to support. I would imagine those individuals, if Kamala Harris won the presidency, would not support all government supporting everything that she would have supported. And even I don't think that should be the case as well, because we live in a democracy, not a dictatorship. Also, for those, and even Commissioner Chairmack, who mentioned several names of individuals who undoubtedly were treated poorly and unfairly, and it's terrible to hear what happened, and unfortunately, it's a reality that anyone can commit a crime in this country and in this world, whether they're documented or undocumented. And anyone, regardless of status, if they commit a crime, they should be held to the fullest extent of the law. I believe that is something that we can all agree to. However, just because somebody commits a crime, that does not mean somebody that looks like them or has a similar situation like them should also face those punishments. I mention that because that seemingly is the tactic here, the argument here, and I would argue those comments are racist. If you have any objections to sexual assault, and specifically sexual assault towards minors, I agree with you. However, I would hope you would direct those concerns to Pennsylvania Avenue. Just because an individual who lives on Pennsylvania Avenue commits those crimes, that doesn't mean that all white people should be targeted for what he did. And that should not be the case for anyone else, regardless of their race. So it is my hope that people keep that in mind and have an open mind, that this is not about giving people special permissions. This is making sure everybody follows the law. So I appreciate you hearing me out and listening to me, and it is my hope in the future we will have another policy on the agenda and we can get fast. Thank you very much for all the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Yes.
I know you spoke earlier, but could you please put your name
My apologies.
into the record for the minutes?
Absolutely. My name is Sean Riley, and I live in Thornhurst.
Again, former Commissioner Lorraine Cummings from Old Forge. Ms. Munley, I really appreciate, I've seen you online, and I know I'm supposed to address the board, but I would like to thank her for the work that she's done on the data centers, along with Gary and the commissioners that have gone to the meetings. Thank you so much. That is very important. And I've seen the devastation up there, and I hope that we win those and not allow this to happen to our area, because it's devastating. And I agree with all of you that are trying to fight, and I appreciate all the work that you've done there. I wasn't here to talk about illegal immigration. I was here to talk about taxes. Joan was asking about that, and that's the sole purpose that I came here today. But unfortunately, we still have this issue, and I'm hoping that your table stops this issue so that we can actually talk about the people who are losing their homes or being affected by the reassessment and the increased taxes. I did want to say that I really don't appreciate the commentary about white people, because there are white people that are being murdered and killed too, not just people of color. And the girl that was stabbed to death in New York City and the other girl that was burned to death in New York City were white. So they were Ukrainian. They were illegal immigrants that came here for protection from the war, and they lost their lives anyway. So that is not fair to them or their families. And we didn't go around burning down buildings because of this, okay? We're trying to make sure that the laws are followed. America is based on the rule of law. We are not mob rule. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. And again, distraction. I'm being distracted again. So why I was here was the reassessment. Commissioner Welby, last time I did come, you had talked about how I was confused by the year that the budget was passed for the 33% tax increase. I wasn't confused. What I said is that you had the opportunity to either continue to rehash this budget, because you did ask initially to get time to view the budget before you voted on it in December of last year. So you could have voted to lower taxes and look at Chris's proposal for the 6%, regardless of what we think of it, or try to lower taxes for the people because reassessment was going to bring their taxes up. My taxes did go up. Joan's family, she talked about the $15,000 was the assessment. That assessment needs to be times by, I think it was 16%. I don't know if Mr. Tobin is around, or maybe he could talk about that. That's not the actual value that her parents' house was. It wasn't $15,000 value. That was the assessment amount, and you have to times that by whatever our common level ratio was at the time, and I believe it was 16%, which would have come to what her house is actually worth. Very confusing reassessment amounts. So, with that said, thank you, Commissioner Chermak, for your words on and representing the people that did support our law enforcement. I greatly appreciate it, and I commend you for making them. Thank you very much. I support every word that you made. As for me addressing the public, I do apologize if I offended anyone, because I did not mean to do that, so I do apologize for that. With taxes, I hope that we look at those again, because we need a break. On my street alone, 5 houses are up for sale, just on my street, 5. In Old Forge alone, the increase in sales are exponential. People cannot afford what just happened to them, the 33% tax increase plus the reassessment. And I look forward to hearing from you guys on who is not paying or wasn't paying their taxes. Joan kind of stole my thunder, because that was one of the questions I had today to ask. So I do appreciate her asking that. But I will continue as much as I possibly can to take work off and come here to talk about these tax increases, because it's outrageous. And I can't even understand how people that are making $1,200 to $1,800 a month on a fixed income through Social Security are paying this. To hear people in these meetings sometimes say that they don't care about the tax increase, they're more concerned about the ICE agents that are doing their job, really is upsetting to me. So I'm the other faction that you guys represent. I didn't bring up the fact that President Trump won because I wanted to say that we should be kings or anything. I was just saying that you represent everybody, not just the half that voted for Kamala Harris. That was my point. So I hope that that clarifies my commentary on that. And I hope that you take those into consideration when looking at the budget this year. And Commissioner Gahan, I would like to take time out. You had offered me the time to look at that new thing we have for the budget, where you can look up the budget online. I did see it online, but I wasn't sure how to work it. So I'll be calling your office to help me work on that. Thank you very much for implementing that as well. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hi, Michelle Tierney, Glenburn Township. I just want to take a few minutes to thank the 3 of you for today's meeting. We have lots of issues. The community is loaded with different agenda items that come forward. We speak openly. We share with our thoughts. And I want to commend you for holding off with that policy. I think you saw where there was a start, but you realized that you needed to get more information, work together more as a team, listen to your constituents, see what's going on in your environment. And to pause like you did was the total professionalism and the respect that you're not only giving your seat, but you're giving the people here and the people that work for you. So I want to commend you. When one of you mentioned that you don't have to vote for policies, I'm sorry, Chris, that is your job, to work with the community and help make policies. Your opinion matters. Your opinion is important. The three of you need to work as a team to make this county the best county that we deserve. So please be a part of this. Share your thoughts. And if you don't like what the majority is doing, the three of you work together. I commend you. I also want to commend this woman here in speaking so eloquently about what is upon all of us in our counties with these centers. It is so important for us to get as much information as we possibly can, and for you commissioners to lead us with that so we can make the best decisions for all of our townships, because it might be Archibald this month, but it might be my little Glenburn Township next month. So it is important for you to lead us and give us the information we can to protect our land, but be stewards of also of our properties. So I thank you, and I want to commend you for holding that off today. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Sister Ansel Maloney, and I'm an IHM. First of all, I'd like to thank the Commissioner Gahn for your presence at the meeting on Monday relative to data centers. And I'd like to respectfully suggest that the Commissioners select a team to travel to the Loudoun community on the eastern part of Virginia that has suffered tremendously from the data centers that have been built in that area, to see firsthand what happens to a region when these massive data centers are built, and talk to the remaining citizens. And when I say remaining citizens, many of the citizens have had to sell their homes and moved out of the area because they couldn't stand the noise, they couldn't stand the pollution. And that would give you an opportunity to see firsthand, and maybe even take a video, so that folks that are struggling to support their communities, such as the folks in Archibald, the rest of the region would have an idea of what happens to their community if they could see firsthand. So I make that suggestion. And lastly, in terms of the issue of we have so many illegal immigrants in our country, and that's definitely true. But it's also true that the businesses and the communities in our nation for generations have benefited from inexpensive, let's say cheap labor, that have supported the industries and our farming industry. But there's been little or no support from those communities, from many of the business communities and business organizations, to work for a legal path for their workers to enter the country legally, so we wouldn't have all these folks that are struggling to stay here if those who had employed them had supported legal paths for them to be here legally. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else to address the board? Commissioner comments?
Thank you. Just one item in regards to data centers. So I am planning on inviting the group from Loudoun County, Virginia, to come up to Lackawanna County at a public meeting so that they can express what has happened. That's one of the issues that came up at the meeting on Monday at the University of Scranton, where they issued or went over a report on data centers. But I do think it would be really good for us to hear from their experience, not just to go down there and look at what's happened, but to hear from the very, very large group of concerned citizens now who has realized that what has gone on down there has not been good for their community. Last Friday, the people of Archibald won a major victory. The council voted to reject the conditional use application for an 18-building data center campus known as Project Scott. More than 200 residents showed up for the meeting at 1 p.m. on a Friday. It showed something very simple, but something very powerful. When ordinary people organize, when they speak up, and when they refuse to be steamrolled, they can still be heard and they can still make things happen. They deserve an enormous amount of credit. This was a statement that communities, not just in Archibald, but throughout Lackawanna County, are not powerless, and that residents don't have to accept every massive industrial proposal simply because a developer with deep pockets shows up and says that it is inevitable. I've said this on numerous occasions, but it bears repeating that the scale of what is being proposed is absolutely outrageous. 6 data center campuses in Archibald alone, the most anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania. Last Friday was a big win, but it should also be a wake-up call for everyone in our area, because these fights are not over. And that is why I want to again ask our solicitor, Paul Walker, for answers to several questions that I have raised at the last 2 meetings. First, I would like to know whether Lackawanna County has the legal authority to enact an air quality or public health ordinance that is stricter than the minimum baseline protections being offered by the state and federal government, particularly as these large-scale data center proposals raise concerns about backup generators, emissions, and cumulative impacts on nearby residents and public spaces. What's happening in Archibald is one thing. If everything is allowed to go through, I've said this before, it just doesn't affect Archibald, it affects the entire county. And from what I heard at this meeting on Monday and the report that was issued on data centers, the concern about air quality is real, and it is happening all over the country, and it has grave impacts on people's health. The one statistic they used on asthma was frightening, and we already have issues here in the county. This would only make it worse. Second, I would like a clear legal analysis of whether the county has standing to participate in zoning or related proceedings involving these data center projects where county property or county-affiliated property is directly affected. As I asked for the last 2 meetings, I want an answer on Project Gravity, which abuts a county housing project in German, and Project Green Mountain, which is approximately a half a mile away from Aylesworth Park, which is a county park, as Ms. Munley pointed out. If the county does have standing, I want to know exactly what rights that gives us. Can we intervene formally? Can we submit objections, expert reports, or testimony? Can we appeal decisions? Can we participate in a way that ensures the county's interests are fully represented before irreversible decisions are made? Are there examples from other Pennsylvania counties where they have successfully participated in zoning, land use, or environmental disputes because county property or county facilities were impacted nearby? Because if the law gives this county a seat at the table, then we should not be sitting silently. We have an obligation to protect our residents, our parks, our public assets, and the character of our communities. And I think that county government as a whole has to decide whether we are going to merely observe these fights, which I've observed over the last several months, from a distance, or whether we will use every lawful tool we have to stand with the people. So, Solicitor Walker, if you could please provide a legal opinion on the issues that I've raised the last 2 meetings and again today. And I just would say respectfully that time is of the essence. Every day that goes by, if we have the opportunity and the ability as a county to enter into these fights, then I really think that we should, but we need that legal analysis that would chart the path forward, and then obviously we'd need at least another commissioner to agree to that. In closing, as I mentioned, I attended the event regarding data centers at the University of Scranton on Monday night. The report was titled "The High Costs of Artificial Intelligence, How Data Centers Are Reshaping Pennsylvania's Energy Landscape." There was a lot of really important takeaways, one of which was the rise in electricity bills on everyday residents, the massive energy demand that's is already pushing up costs across the PJM grid, and ratepayers are going to get stuck paying it no matter what any developer or anybody who's pushing these things is going to tell you. As I mentioned before, data centers will worsen local air quality, especially from these backup generators. Even if they do have protections in place, they rely heavily on diesel and gas backup systems, which is going to add an immense amount of pollution. The other thing that we have to be also concerned about, and it goes back to the point I've been making about Archibald and the county being set up as a sacrifice zone, is PP&L is now, they were set to have an open house on March 31st. They delayed that meeting, but they're going to talk about adding a new substation, a switchyard, and electric transmission lines that are supposed to support load growth and other things, but again, I don't think anybody here is stupid. We know that it is directly related to data centers. And then a local data center developer wants to build a power plant on the Einen German Road in Archibald, less than 1,000 feet from Stayback Park. So this, as I've said before, this has to be the #1 issue in the history of Lackawanna County. We should not make the same mistake that we made 100 and some years ago with the coal mines to allow our land to be used and our resources to be evaporated. If we can jump into this fight, I think we should, and we should do so as soon as humanly possible. So, Solicitor Walker, if you can please get us that information, and then that will hopefully give us a path forward on joining the people in Archibald and everywhere else in the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple things, just to answer Joan's question. We have about 650 appeals waiting to go into the courts, so we're waiting on those. And today is April 1st, so today's the first day that people can apply for their appeal for this next year's process. So, you know, anybody that has any concerns or any things that they think are incorrect with their assessment, they should certainly file their appeal as soon as they can. And then the most important thing today, I think that's going on, is we have some astronauts that are, as far as if the launch goes, it's going to go tonight. So I'm just give our prayers to the astronauts that they have a safe mission and they can go around the moon and do what they're going to do. But hopefully they get back here safe and sound and get that through. So prayers for them. So thank you. And happy Easter.
I think we certainly spent enough time going over all of our issues that we have here, and we do appreciate Commissioner Gaughan's presence at all of the hearings. It is kind of critical. I still don't understand, going back to when I first stepped up to run, how some of these developers could consciously put a data center in a neighborhood. Just totally escapes me, and I just don't get it. But Commissioner Gaughan has really stepped up to physically be there. The county commissioners don't have any say in a local community, but he has certainly been there to express his just disgust with some of the things that are going on with them. I still think if we're going to have data centers, I think that area along the Casey Highway, as you go up past Dunmore, is an ideal spot for them if we are going to have them. But I do not believe that they belong in any neighborhood or anywhere near a neighborhood. As far as
with that, you want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Adjourn.